Hi, everybody. Look at all these beautiful people who soldiered through this terrible rain. Thank you for coming. Are you dried off yet? I saw someone giving themselves a hand. Give yourself a hand. When everything's terrible, we should celebrate the small things, right? My name's Aidan Flax-Clark. I'm the director of Live from NYPL, so I am, of course, thrilled to see all of you here, thrilled for all of you who are joining us online. I get to introduce the one and only Maira Kalman tonight. Yeah, that's right. Give it up. I'm sure you know she's here to talk about her incredible new book, Still Life with Remorse. And she is the author and illustrator of books, like Women Holding Things, the illustrated elements of style, my young daughter's personal favorite, Hey Willie, See the Pyramids. Here at the library, we also like to remember that she is a library lion. We honored Maira for her contributions to the city and to culture almost 10 years ago in 2015. And we're thrilled that she's going to be speaking with National Book Award finalist Rumaan Alam, who, as I'm sure you know, is the author of such incredible novels as Entitlement, Leave the World Behind, and That Kind of Mother. Maira's book, Still Life with Remorse, hopefully you saw is available outside for purchase. Yes? Yeah? I saw some of you picking it up on the way in. For all of those who failed to do so, you still have a chance on the way out. Maira will be signing it right up here at the end of the talk tonight. And if you can't pick it up for any reason, of course, you must have a library card because you would never come in this building without a library card, right? You would be ashamed. You would never even think of it. So you can use your library card to get that book and all of Maira and Rumaan's books as well. Live from NYPL only has a couple events left in the year, but they're really good ones. December 10th, I believe, right here in this room, beloved science writer Dava Sobel is going to be here talking about her latest book, The Elements of Marie Curie, which not only looks at the life and career of the legendary scientist, but also at the generation of women who she nurtured and mentored who came up after her. It's a really fantastic book. She's going to speak with writer Angela Saini. And then a few days later on Friday, December 13th, we're going to shut down this hellscape of a year by closing the building down and opening it back up to celebrate the one and only James Baldwin, who, yeah, that's right. Always a hand for James Baldwin. I don't know if you know, but the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture has the papers of James Baldwin and recently opened this incredible show about him where most of the items that are on view are being seen for the first time ever in public. It's really beautiful. You should all go see it. It's free. And we're going to celebrate that down here with a night celebrating Baldwin. We're going to have Candace Hoyas, the singer-songwriter, performing music in the Rosemain Reading Room. Daryl Pinckney, Terry Jones, Daphne Brooks, Phoebe Robinson, and others are going to read some of their favorite works by Baldwin. There's going to be a one-night-only collections display of photographs from the Schomburg Center. It's really going to be an exquisite night, so please join us December 13th. I think it might be fully registered, but you can always walk in, and we're going to open up some more tickets next week. For all of that, you can go to nypl.org/newsletter to sign up for our newsletters, which is the best way to stay informed of what's happening and be the first to sign up for events. After that, we'll be back in February. But in the meantime, if you're just like really jonesing for some library content, we have a great podcast called Library Talks where we rebroadcast some of the events that happen here and elsewhere around the system. And you can get that Apple Podcasts and all the other places you get podcasts. So I'd really urge you to check that out as well. When you walked in, you got some note cards in your programs. Those are for asking Maira some questions. She'll be glad to answer some of your questions at the end of the talk. If you're watching online, you can put your questions in the chat, and she will answer some of them. So thank you for thinking about really good questions. Live from NYPL is made possible by the continuing generosity of Celeste Bartos, Manaz Ispahani Bartos, and Adam Bartos, and of course by all of you. So thank you very much for your support. Thank you for being here, and let's please give it up for Rumaan Alam and Maira Kalman.
Hello. Hello. We were just talking, so we don't need to say hello again.
I want to say thank you for coming because I would not have come on a rainy night. But truly, I would have said bed or going out. There's no question. But this is a good night for murder, like murder in the library. Yeah. So the night is young. We'll see what happens.
We'll have a role-playing game after this. A testament to Maira Kalman's appeal that you could fill a room on a rainy New York night. before I start, I'm going to apologize. The last time I did an event, I learned something interesting about myself, which is that I can't read my own handwriting. So I emailed my questions to myself to avoid my own embarrassment. This is going to be a multimedia presentation because Maira Kalman is an interdisciplinary artist. And so, Maira, we didn't actually really plan this out, but should I begin? Should you begin? How do you want to work it? Sorry, we should have worked this out before. We were talking too much.
This is interesting, right? You begin.
Okay, I'm going to begin. I'm going to start with like an incredibly basic question, which is, we're here to talk about a book, Still Life with Remorse, which is a book of images and text. And because I can't help it about myself that I think in this binary way, but I wanted to know if you are an artist or a writer. And I wanted to ask you...
Or neither.
Well, I wanted to ask you that question before learning you're also a pianist, so you're also a musician. Maybe those two, maybe artist and writer are synonymous, or maybe there's a pull toward one over the other. I'm curious how you account for yourself. Get to it.
Right, next question. No, well, there's some kind of fortune that I feel has befallen me, or I've taken it upon myself because, you know, I don't know if I could do one with, well, I don't know if I could do one without the other at this point in my life. I mean, I used to do illustration, and before that I thought I would write. So there is a kind of urgency and need to do both, and so I have to do both. I would be miserable if I couldn't.
That's so interesting to me. It seems unfair that you should be so adept at two things, but we'll let that go. I can't draw. I can't make an image that looks like anything, and this was a source of great frustration to my children when they were small, because they would ask me to draw something and be very angry that it didn't represent reality. But I can write, kind of. And I hold on to that. It's like, that is my thing. And so I feel like you should only be allowed to be good at one thing. But I'm gonna tell you. So when I was leaving tonight, my 12-year-old said to me, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to the New York Public Library to talk to Maira Kalman." And he said, "Oh, I love Maira Kalman." And then he said, "Wait, who's Maira Kalman?" Just to keep you humble. But then, this is what I thought was so interesting. I said, "Oh, you know, she wrote what, P8, you know, which is a book that he heard me read a million times in a few years ago now." And I said she drew the pictures for 13 words, and then he started to enumerate some of those 13 words. I think we got 4 of them. But what I was so struck by is that he said roots and wings, which is an aside that some of you may recognize from a book that Maira wrote called, was it Max Makes a Million?
Yeah.
In which Max is recounting a proverb of Chinese origin about how parents should raise their children with roots and wings. And I was really struck by his ability to hold on to that particular piece of language, that particular message. And I was similarly struck reading Still Life with Remorse, which is a book, has words, you do read it, by this revelation in the text. And again, I guess we go back to, this is the theme, is it seems unfair that you're so good at painting, but also so good at distilling something in words. In the very beginning of the book, you write, "In still lifes and interiors, there must be a certain amount of remorse, lurking among the bowls of fruit, vases of flowers, and objects scattered about the room." This struck me as so incredibly true that I almost couldn't believe it, and I wondered if you stole it from an art historian.
I stole everything from, you know, other people. You know, the desire to write about remorse needed a counterpoint. I couldn't, you know, do miserable paintings one after another. So what I realized was that, first of all, it was wonderful to look at still lifes, and it's wonderful to try to do a vase of flowers and, you know, or a room, that I'm really interested in interiors. But it's also that they've been silent witnesses to so much, and they say nothing about it. But they've been there. They've absorbed the fights and the sorrow and the confusion and the joy. There are all these things that are there, you know. And so when I look at a room, I look at the architecture of a room and I look at the objects in them, and it's incredibly emotional. It's not just stuff lying around. It's a very poignant conversation with what we have around us and what are the things that you choose to have around you. So it's a very fertile land of imagery and feeling.
It's really interesting because it really feels true. And then I think I told you this when we spoke initially, but I had been looking at Fairfield Porter and trying to figure out like why the rooms made me feel a certain way, and remorse seemed like a very powerful term to apply to that particular feeling.
Also, I imagine, though I'm not sure, that when one is painting, I mean, obviously it's different from finding the right words or that you want to have, but excuse me, but when you're painting, I'm assuming that the feelings that I have are entering into it, you know, whether I'm aware of it or not, that there's some kind of poignancy that enters into the work with, you know, with joy or with whatever other feelings there are. And unbeknownst to me, it's going in from my body into the brush, onto the paper.
So then
or maybe not.
So then was remorse present in your psyche as you were working on these paintings?
No, not at all. You know what? I have to say, I've said this before to people that remorse. When I started thinking about it, it seemed to me that every word that anybody was saying was just the word remorse, and I thought it was all over the place. And I thought, well, this is really fascinating. And then I said, oh, it's funny because I have no remorse. That's crazy. And then a minute later, I collapsed with more remorse than I could possibly handle. And then, I mean, I'm going to jump to the kind of the cutting away of, and then through the working of this and through talking to people and asking them, what's your remorse? And everybody goes crazy telling you what it is, to a point that I don't want to hear it anymore at all. But then, so the nice news for me was that about a week ago I thought, I'm done. No more remorse. There's a limit, as I say in the book, but there really is.
You can move out of this period artistically.
What?
You can move out of that period artistically.
I can move out of that. We'll see what happens.
Should we look at some of the work?
Yes, let's look at some stuff. Yeah. So I just have to, okay, I'll pre-apologize. Wait a minute. So I'm bringing up women holding things because I like it. And and I can't let go of it. But I'm bringing it up because my mother was such an important part. You know, some of you know, or many of you know, that my mother was an extraordinary influence on me in many ways, without trying to be, which is probably the best way to be, is not to try to make anybody something. And she just let me be who I was. But she did a map, and again, I apologize for those of you who have seen it too often, but I can't resist. So when I was doing a piece for the New York Times, I was asking people to do maps of the United States from memory, and most people did a very earnest, boring, unnecessary map. And then this is my mother's map. I mean, never fails
sorry
to...
The rest. Yeah.
Sorry the rest unknown, thank you.
Yeah.
But
what a New Yorker. What a New Yorker, right? Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, the joke in our family is that we don't know where anywhere else is at all, other than where we are right now. But the thing about this is that also it's so irreverent and it's so full of humor and so full of a kind of whimsy that was part of her, but also not caring about getting it right. That's a big deal, to observe somebody who has that attitude, that getting it right might be a complete bore. Do
you think you have that attitude as an artist?
I think you have to have that attitude as an artist. That, I mean, if you think that the only thing you're trying to do is to be some kind of truth about what's in you, literally some physical truth that comes out of you, and that's not going to come from anywhere else. I mean, it'll come from there'll be a lot of inspiration. There'll be a lot of amazing paintings to look at and books to read, but all of that is the sum. And then at the end, what do you do with it? So you have to do something that's not right.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't matter if Colorado or what is that? What is that? I don't even know. It doesn't matter. Maybe it was true to your mother.
Completely true. Yeah,
Yeah.
Colorado. Yeah.
I like how North Dakota is next to South Dakota. Incredible.
Do you see that Texas and California are under Canada?
Yeah.
I mean, do you see that South Carolina is on top of North Carolina? Anyway, I'm sorry. I could go on like this for a long time.
This is all our discussion is going to be about tonight, in fact.
That would be fine with me. But, okay. So, should I read something?
It's your show.
Or
Yeah, please
okay.
do. Please do.
Let's see if there's a painting. Oh, so this is a quote, and also the essence of what it means what it means to be alive, and what it means for us to be alive through all kinds of sorrow and tragedy and catastrophe. And that's there all the time. It's not as if it's not going to be there. It's not as if, if only all of that went away. That's absurd. It's always been horrible, and it'll always be horrible. But the question is, what do you find within that? Where do you find your solace and your salvation? And so that's the conversation that we're having, is that, what's going on for everybody now is incredible despair. And at the same time, it launches you into a completely, I don't want to say euphoric, because that sounds crazy, but some kind of determination to do really wonderful things and to take care of the people that you love and to do the work that you love. There's nothing else to be done. So, and Virgil, if Virgil is saying that, I'm going to go with that. But, okay. So
he knew, right?
He knew. They knew. So in the traveling of going to places and looking at interiors, this is Cézanne's studio in Aix-en-Provence, and it was an extraordinary place. This is Morandi's studio. And so I'll read a little something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, this is called Uncle. I just want to say that I also thought that there was nothing special about my remorse. There's nothing special about your remorse. It's all the same. And it's a kind of stew that you're in for your life. And then what? And then how do you get out of it? Okay. So this is called Uncle. Once our uncle sat in a gigantic black inner tube and floated in the sea. He fell asleep and drifted farther and farther from the shore. He was a tiny dot in the sea. People went out in a boat to rescue him. He could have been swept out to sea, but he was not, but he could have. So, this is what we call the possible, probable remorse tense. Suffering after the fact, over a disaster that could possibly have happened but did not. This tense occurs very frequently in our household, daily, even hourly. And we say that it's a miracle that we made it here. I walk down the street and I'm sure I'm going to fall and die and break my head open. Isn't that the norm? Isn't that, well, some of you must think that, but at any rate, that the inherent danger of going from morning till night is palpable, and then I can the source of it is not that funny, because obviously it implies a certain incredible fear of something disastrous that's about to happen. And what from my place, though I think everybody has their version of this is not unique also, is that my father and his two brothers left Belarus to go to Palestine. And his family stayed. They were reasonably well-to-do, whatever that meant, in some shtetl. And they didn't leave, and they thought, we'll be okay. And of course, they were not okay, and everybody was killed. So his legacy, his kind of, not gift, because that would be a horrible thing to say, but the stories that he told me were just, it could happen any minute. Because it did happen, so why wouldn't it happen again? And that question of the vulnerability that a human being has to the forces outside of them, and we lived a perfectly lovely life. There was nothing dangerous going on at all. except walking down the street and perhaps falling and breaking open your head. But so that's something that I have as a, and then of course everybody in Israel, in Palestine, but no, Israel came because of the Holocaust. So there was a national kind of, it was personal though, it was felt in every family. We're in danger.
It's interesting that we did not prearrange this, because the first question I was going to ask you was about uncle, actually, and was about this question of possible, probable remorse. Because everyone in this room is laughing because you're funny. So there's the work at hand, the work that this book collects, and a lot of your work contains this feeling that you're describing that may be your inheritance in some way, right, and is maybe all humans' inheritance in some way, whether we accept it or not. But the work that you produce out of that has a lot of joy in it. And in some ways that feels very disobedient, and it feels very surprising. Do you think of your work as joyful?
I think that it's a mix of joy and sorrow. I think that if it was only joyful, it would be terrible. It would be stupid, that's right. And sometimes I am stupid. But, I mean, that's the conversation of inconsistency. And that's something else that I think about a lot, that I'm allowed to be stupid, and I'm allowed to not be stupid, and I'm allowed to do good work, and I'm allowed to do bad work. And that the process of going through it is what I want to have happen. And sometimes, despite all my efforts, the joy breaks through. No matter what I do. And so I can't help myself. And I said I can't help myself using, a lot of pink, and I can't help myself. And I also fall in love with things, 50 times a day. I have a high romance factor in my body. But it's true. It's something that I can't believe that and I wait for it to end. I think I'll just sit there like a log. But that, if you go out for a walk, how can you not encounter things that just fill you with joy? I mean, some days I hate everybody, but more often than not. No, but...
do you want to show us something else?
Sure. Let's see what else I brought. Well, that's more. Well, maybe I'll read a story. I'll read a little something with this, and then we can...
Also, just as an aside, interesting to me that you mention pink specifically as somehow... you just said, I forget exactly what your words were, but that your work has pink in it or something. So that's not serious. Right. Is that not serious? Is pink not serious? No, it is serious.
No, but it's happy. It always happy. Implies some kind of lightheartedness. And except if Philip Guston uses it, it's not that lighthearted, right? Okay, I'll read a story called Sheets. Once, these are all true stories, by the way. Once a man and a woman were married. She made excellent jams of all kinds, including quince. And she was fastidious. She loved to wash and iron the sheets all the time. To her, it was important to dry them in the fresh air, so she draped them all over the furniture to dry. The man could not sit on the furniture when the sheets were drying, and it made him furious. They fought about it. Why do you have to dry the sheets all over the furniture? I can't sit down. She completely ignored him. She couldn't care less. One day, the woman had draped the sheets over the furniture, and the man was boiling with fury. He yelled at her, to no avail, and then he dropped dead. So you could say the laundry killed him. But that's true. Right.
Okay. It's a hard act to follow. Okay, I want to ask you. So, you just said on the record, this is being recorded, that these are true stories. So this is a book that is very interested in family story, and a lot of it feels like the story that Maira just read, these sort of snippets of story that some of us may be lucky to know about our own families, that you've heard from, I feel like these are the kinds of stories you don't necessarily hear from a grandparent. You hear them from like the crazy aunt who divorced.
My crazy cousin.
Right, or like someone
Just
who's like
you.
removed from the family by divorce, and then you see them by accident and they tell you the most insane stuff. This book feels like that. It feels like having dinner with your crazy aunt in the best possible way. But
I want to say that hearing story that we talk about that. My cousins tell me a lot of stories, and then I'm run to the computer and write them down, and then they appear in the books. And then I say, but they're kind of benevolent. It's not a Truman Capote situation, for instance. And, though I do know some stuff, but I'm not writing it down. I'm waiting for some people to die.
You could save that for later. But there's something about you just said it, right? It's an active witness, and maybe you're waiting for the ability to tell all of the stories you have to tell.
Yeah.
But there's this bit, there's a musical interlude in this book in which you give us a little bit of Schubert, and I'm going to read, I don't know if it's your translation or not, but in the morning I laughed with joy, and why I now weep in the evening light is unknown even to me. And I wondered whether you felt, because I know this book is telling me it's true, and it's telling me that it's family stories, what I'm hearing there is some insight into Maira Kalman herself. And I wondered whether you felt, I wondered why you chose that bit of music, and I wondered whether you felt that had something to say about the place you are in your life right now.
I think it's always been true. So that is my life. And the same with the Mahler, the dark is life, spring is here, the birds are singing. That the incomprehensibility of moods, that you're happy, and then you're all of a sudden overwhelmed with sorrow about something that you don't even know where it came from. And then you say, oh my God, when am I, I'm going to be put away somewhere. And then it passes, and then you do something else, and then you go for a walk, and then you see people, or you look at trees, or whatever it is, or you listen to music, and it's this constant churning. I mean, for me, it's a constant churning. It does not stop, and I'm waiting for it to let up a little bit, but it seems to not be abating, and then you could say, well, that's wonderful. That means that I'm alive. That means that I'm miserable 1 minute and I'm happy and I'm confused. That's it. And so this is fantastic. So good times. That's right.
I mean, I had asked Maira just before, because I sort of came to know her and love her work via your writing for children, and I'd asked you whether you were going to write another book for children. Part of the reason I love your work for kids is because it respects childhood enough to know that you feel that way, the way you just described, even when you're 4. Right. That you veer from this illogic of being so happy that your dad bought you Lucky Charms, and then so miserable that you got a paper cut and you're sort of hysterical on the floor. And I guess in some ways I still feel that way too. I find it reassuring that you still feel that way. I mentioned Schubert, who's gives us a musical interlude in this book, but there are a lot of other people in this book, and I've sort of come to understand over the course of looking at your work that you have this kind of personal pantheon. Right. There are people who show up in your work: Kafka, Chekhov, Tolstoy, Proust, Schubert, Virgil. I wonder if you are somebody who, I wonder if you're aware, if you have you just said you fall in love 50 times a day. Do you have this endless curiosity for artists and writers, or are you returning to that sort of personal pantheon over and over again? Well,
I have a lot of curiosity about a lot of things, which I think is going to be an asset, continue to be an asset for the rest of my life. And then the people that I've fallen in love with who endure through all of the changes of life, and the writers and the painters, I return to them because I feel like they're my family. And I couldn't live without them. I mean, I probably could. But it's, I feel, I don't have to, exactly. And I feel that engaging with the writers that are so important to me help me make sense of the world. And so I love them. Some of them definitely more than family members. And I also say that I love some objects more than family members, which is true.
I see the question and answer, or the question cards out there. So it will remind you that I'm going to cede the floor in like 15 minutes to the audience questions.
Let's talk about dead people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about dead people.
Let's have some fun and talk about dead people.
Let's bring up the room. Yeah.
So this is Tolstoy dead. And I think that one of the things that happened in looking at reference and looking at photographs, and especially Tolstoy's wife, Sophia, was a tremendously talented amateur photographer. She didn't take this picture because he wouldn't let her near him, even when he was dead. No, I think she was allowed to see him. But at any rate, he had run away. I'm sure many of you know this. And so, I mean, he ran away days before he died. He ran away from home. But okay, we'll leave that. But it's a wonderful photograph, and one of the pleasures of painting is to see a photograph and I say, this is such. I want to enter into this. I want to be in that set. So.
Can I ask you a question before you go to the next slide?
Show you Chekhov dead.
This is a similar slide, really. Are these?
Well, yeah, it's in the series of dead people.
Are these still lifes, or are these portraits?
Well,
I got you.
You got me right. I'm speechless. Yeah. Now I'm just going to think about it for the rest of the evening, and so.
But I suppose, in a way, there's still lives in the same way that the picture we saw of the flowers was when you understand when you read the story.
Right. I mean, a dead person doesn't move. Easy to paint, but I mean, also this is from a photograph, and then the moment that I did the painting of Proust that Man Ray, from the photo that Man Ray took of him, and it's just an extraordinary moment to engage with, because I'm not actually wondering what it's going to be like to be dead, though I think about it all the time. So I guess I am wondering what it's like to be dead. Or what it's like to not be here, which is incomprehensible.
But they're here, right? I mean, Tolstoy's still here. Who's this handsome gentleman?
This is Chekhov.
He's still here.
Yeah. Very much so. Right. And actually, you can say that the writers and the painters are much more present than any of the horrible politicians and the horrible, horrible people that ruled the world.
Yeah.
I mean, they're here too, but the people that are really present in our lives are the writers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to take what comfort where we can find it.
Let's see. This is another one. That's that. I could read this story. Do we have to? Actually, do we have time? Maybe not. You know what?
No, we have time.
No, because we have to show the movie.
Oh, we have to show the movie.
We have a 2-hour movie to show you, and so anyway, these are more.
Will you go back to the previous? That was my favorite painting, actually, the one with the yellow wall, the previous one.
Back.
Yeah. Can you tell me about this room?
This
before
is
we show the movie?
Clementine Churchill, and not no relation. I did 2 paintings of this room. One of them was full of books for a story called Sundoko, which is a Japanese word for having piles and piles of books that you don't necessarily read, and it doesn't bother you at all. And that's a revelation. I have that. I have piles and piles of books, and then I look at the piles and say, I don't even know where they came from. And then every day I say I won't buy any more books, and every day I do buy more books. But anyway, so this is. And I put another painting. I put a Manet painting of the boy in the blue stockings. So I love fancy rooms, and I love many rooms. So this is one of them. Okay. So in the course of working on the book, Alex Kalman who was supposed to be here, but clearly didn't. No, I'm kidding. So I work with my son Alex, and he is my editor and designer and all-around consultant and consigliere and collaborator. We don't like to use the word collaborator, and colleague in all of the projects that we do. And it's an incredible conversation to have with a child who I've known since he was born, and vice versa, and gone through all of the things that you do with another person. And then I think, like, how long will this last until he storms out and says, "Don't darken my doorstep again," but which definitely will happen. But so one of the things that we do, besides talk about the books and the writing and the painting, is that we want to. We also, there's an insatiable need I have to, be the center of attention and to make movies where I'm the star. And if somebody says, well, who's going to play, Cleopatra? I said, well, I'm going to play Cleopatra, of course. Anyway, in the course of the book, we decided that I would, in fact, play 4 characters, that we would make short films. The first character was Martha Graham, because I thought, it's so easy to do one of her dances. And there's such desperation, and there's such a pathetic aspect to me that it's really shocking. But it didn't stop me from trying to do this dance. And I had a wonderful dancer who actually is a dancer with Mark Morris, but was in the Martha Graham group, and she danced with me. And out of kindness, she didn't stab me with a knife. So that's me as Martha, and all of these are going to be about 3 to 5 minute films, and we'll hopefully do something nice with them. Cicero. Now, Cicero is in the book. I'm just going to say quickly that, as all of you know, Cicero and Cleopatra had a terrible relationship, and had a falling out, which didn't end well for him, but because his head got cut off and his hands got cut off by Antony. But at any rate, I can't help myself. I have to say that. But the fight was over a book. He wanted to borrow a book from her library, and she ignored him and said no. Oh, no, she said yes, and then didn't do it. He was furious. Anyway, okay. And then there's Kafka, and how could you not love Kafka? And tonight, actually, at the Morgan, the Kafka show opens. So for those who are here, you could still go and catch the end of it. And then there's Clara Schumann. So one of the stories in the book is that I call Clara and Robert and say, what's happening, and they ask me over for dinner. And I guess it's part of that. I want to live this fantasy life. And it seems perfectly reasonable to me. Why live a normal life when you can imagine that you're with, poor Robert and Clara and Brahms and Liszt and all of them. I mean, that's so, okay. So this is the film of Clara Schumann.
Ich bin Clara Schumann. Ich war mit Robert Schumann verheiratet. Wir hatten 8 Kinder. Musik war unser Leben, unser Lebensinhalt. Und dann die Brücke. Und der Sprung in den Rhein. Die Nervenheilanstalt. Die Trauer. Der Tod. Es ist alles zu schwer, darüber zu sprechen. Mein Herz ist schwer. Reue.
Remorse.
Tag und Nacht, denke
I think
ich.
day and night. What on earth could I have done differently to save my Robert? What on earth? I'm getting really hungry. And I would like to buy a new hat. Perhaps I sometimes confuse Schumann with Schubert. I would need to take a beat before I asked, Schumann, would you like butter on your toast? And that really got on Robert's nerves. Who could blame him? But really, can you always tell the difference? You know who could tell the difference? Brahms. He always stood steadfast by our side. And when Robert died, he was my kind chevalier. And if he were with me here now, eating a nice grilled cheese sandwich, we would lean towards each other in a chaste but loving way, sharing our Diet Coke with 2 straws. And I would buy him his favorite candy. After all, buying bonbons for Brahms is what I love to do. Buying bonbons for Brahms is what I love to do. In the candy shop, you forget your sorrows true. It might be Swedish fish, or maybe jujubes galore. I lost my true love, he will come back no more. So it's Brahms that I buy, little bonbon candies for.
I have to say that even though it looked like I played the piano, I can fake it. The music was played by a wonderful friend, Andrew Farrah Colton. So when we have the title, when we have the end credits, you'll see I did nothing, you know. But anyway, yeah, I did sing though, obviously.
I told you it would be in multimedia. I feel like you thought it was going to be a slideshow. People in the audience. There are some really, really good audience questions, which is unusual, I have to say. No offense to most audiences, but a New York Public Library audience, I guess you can count on them. This is a hard one. This is really maybe more. This is maybe more for a rabbi than for Maira. But can you feel remorse for something bad that happened, but you weren't responsible for it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. No further elaboration required.
No, because you can be witness to something that maybe you were, tangentially part of. Like my sister, for instance, when she was sent away when she was 4, not forever. It seems like that in the book. I have to have an addenda, correction. But she was, traumatized, and I was 1 or 0, so it wasn't my fault. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the collective. I feel collective, residual, ancillary, whatever other word, remorse. Yeah, I do. So yes.
Here is a very nuts and bolts question. Where do you paint and write the best? / at what time of day?
Well, I have a studio that I go to where I paint. I don't paint anywhere else but in the studio, and I can write anywhere. And for instance, the next book, I started writing at the cemetery when I was visiting my dead husband's grave, and set up a table. And Alex and I went with a table and a chair, and it was my birthday. It was like a party, It was like, do we know how to party or what? So I was at the cemetery at a table with a chair, and starting to write the next book called Joy. The end.
Wow. That was setting setting the bar very high for your artistic like, I don't know how, I don't know.
Why, compared to a cemetery? What do you mean?
Well, like, what are you supposed to do after that? Like,
Oh, after Joy?
Yeah, well, no, after going to the cemetery.
Oh, you have lunch at the Modern. Of course.
Great answer.
Duh.
Great answer, obviously.
You can't, I mean, that's why I say things change hourly.
Yeah.
So one minute you're at the cemetery, and then the next minute you're having, this is the best, most fun lunch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know. This is a question about the process. The question is...
Oh, wait, by the way, I didn't answer what time of day.
Oh, yeah, what time
I
of
don't
day?
know. I mean, I hate the night, so it's going to be during the day. Yeah.
Are you an early bird, though?
Yeah, I wake up early.
Do you go right to work, or do you putter around the house?
No, I avoid like the plague.
When you go to your studio, do you go back to your apartment, or are you sequestered in the studio? Are you not allowed to go back to the apartment until you're done with the day's work?
No, I do whatever I want.
Okay.
And also the studio is in my
Right.
near my apartment. So sometimes it's 3 floors down, but sometimes it's too far to go.
Yeah. I understand. Some of these questions are written by people who have the inside scoop, This is a question about your hats. Of all the beautiful hats that you've painted, is there one that stands out? But I'm going to ask you another question, which is...
Should I not answer that one?
No, I think you can. I think you can answer that if you have an answer ready for your favorite hat.
I do. I mean, the thing that comes to mind is this hat that I bought from the Modernism show, and it's a hat from the 30s that was made for. He told me it was made for a British aristocrat. He could have charged me anything he wanted when I heard that. And it's a hat by Mr. Frederick, so it looks like a Dr. Seuss hat. It's got this big brim and a big feather, and it's amazing. So that's my favorite hat. I've made the money over many times that I paid for it. I don't know why you need to know that.
But when you have something like that, a hat as a motif, like, are you as an artist conscious of the things in which you're interested in, or do they start to show up over time in your work and you think, oh, I must really love hats? Like, how aware are you of being like, oh, hats are my signature thing, or wow, it turns out I really love hats?
No, I'm hyper aware.
You're hyper aware of that.
I'm hyper aware of shoes and hats. Fashion is really something that I look at a lot. I would like to burn all my clothes. That's another conversation. But because somehow I can't get to, the vision of what I would want to be wearing is not at all, what I'm wearing. But
is it like what Clara Schumann is wearing?
I don't know. I can't even. No, it has to be a little bit, later in the from the 30s. But so no, I'm very aware of that.
Do you think
of all of the things that I put.
You said something earlier at the beginning of our conversation that if there was a feeling in you of whatever the feeling is, remorse or joy or whatever, that somehow that enters the work that you're making and is on some level legible to the audience, to the person looking at the painting or reading the book. Do you know what that feeling is when you talk about a hat or a shoe? And do you think people can see that, or does it not matter to you? Does it matter to you if people understand, oh, I love this hat, that's why I painted this hat, and I'm serious about it?
Right. Well, there are a few parts to this. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I didn't want to interact with people. Then I wouldn't be publishing books and painting and writing. I would be not doing that. And so it's very important for me to have a dialogue with people and to hope that they understand what I'm feeling and the story that I'm telling. I'm basically saying, here's my story, and I want you to know that I'm here. Having said that, the feeling of what I don't do is paint from cynicism, and I don't include anything that I'm not painting out of anger or out of, sometimes, but I'm not painting out of anger. I choose things that I love, and in that conversation that I have with myself, I know that that's going to translate into the painting and into people also falling in love with those things too. I'm assuming, otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
Right. This is an interesting question that leads me to like one of the last couple of things I wanted to talk about, which is this question. It's written two different ways. The first way it's written is, what do you think about traveling abroad? Which I assume they mean, what do you think about the idea of traveling abroad, not what do you literally think while you're abroad, right? And then it says, or do you like to travel? So maybe that's really what they're asking. Do you
I adore
like to
traveling, and I think traveling is one of the things that's the most inspiring for my work and just for life in general, for people. So yeah. So what I think about it is that it's good. It's a good thing to do. Do it.
And
do
so
it as much as you can.
And the next question, which builds on this, is whether you could talk about where you're going to Japan and why you're going to Japan, which is what I wanted to conclude this conversation talking to you about, because I had said to you that I was curious how a body of painting and storytelling coalesces into a book with this sort of theme. And you told me that you, in fact, have a theme for your next project. So I was wondering whether this is an assignment you're giving yourself, whether it's something you're working on with your gallerist, whether your son is helping you sort of articulate like what it is, what you want to pursue. And I wonder if you could tell us what you are pursuing next.
Well, the next projects will be, as I was serious when I said that, Joy will be the next small book that Alex and I produced together in our self-publishing empire. And then after that will be Trees. And so I'm going to spend about 2 or 3 months going to different gardens and going to look at trees around the world, or around a part of the world, in England, Scotland, and France. And then maybe go to Japan to see the millennial forest in Hokkaido. So, it's incredible. If you start making a list of what you want to see around the world, forever. It's incredible. There's a Skippinish oak. It's Skippinish, I forgot. And it was voted the most popular oak, the most popular tree in England this year, right? Is it England or Scotland? England.
They have this election every year?
Yeah.
Every year, this nation is choosing the most
popular tree? Does it get it for 1 year, for just 1 year? Yeah. Oh. So the poor tree, it's 500 years old. It gets 1 year of. It's been waiting 500 years to be voted in as the, but and also we're going to go to the to the Burnham Wood, the Macbeth Wood. So things like that. You can't, and the reason to go, as opposed to just reading about it or thinking about it, of course, is that you don't know what hat you're going to see along the way, and you don't know what person you're going to encounter, or what dog you're going to see, or what, unbelievable treasures in some museum or in some great house. Mm-hmm. So, of course, all of that is, a treasure of life.
I mean, joy seems more abstract as a concept than tree. So I wonder, can you tell me, or maybe can you talk about it? Can you talk about a body of work you're engaged in creating, or is there some magic that you have to preserve that you can't talk about it? Or do you have to ask your lawyer? I don't know
yet. I'm starting. Yeah. And the nice thing is also not knowing. Not knowing is the best state to be in, and then we talk about empty brain, and not knowing is the only way to approach a project. Because I have thoughts and feelings, but then they can be swept away. So the thing is just to be in the moment and follow what moves you.
Are you surprised by where the work, like when you look at this body of work now, is it what you expected it to be?
Nothing is ever what I expect it to be. Because it couldn't be. It's what's sitting in your brain, and then what you produce has to be different. Even though, and it might be better or worse, but it can't be. The fantasy in the head is, I don't know if that's even attainable. So an expectation. I have an expectation that I want to. Tell you the truth, whatever that is.
And provide some joy, maybe.
And provide a little bit. Yeah. Would it kill you to have a little bit of joy? Right.
Maira, what a great pleasure it was to talk to you tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.